A very good morning to everyone present. On behalf of the management of Saptagiri College of Engineering, Sri G. Dayanand, Chairman of our institution, Sri G.D. Manoj, Executive Director, beloved Principal Dr. H. Ramakrishna, Mechanical Department HOD Professor Dr. P. Mahadeswamy, all the heads of the departments and faculties, and on the behalf of the Indian Value Engineering Society Southern Zone Council members, I cordially invite you all to the Miles Day 2021 celebration. This event is organized by the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Saptagiri College of Engineering, in association with Indian Value Engineering Society Southern Zone. So first of all, I'll request our beloved principal, Dr. H. Ramakrishna, who is also the Joint Secretary for Indian Value Engineering Society, to present the welcome note. Sir, please.
So good morning everybody. A very happy morning to all of you. Saptagiri College of Engineering, in association with Indian Value Engineering Society, organized by Department of Mechanical Engineering, cordially invites the Miles Day 2021 in memory of L.D Miles, creator of Value Engineering. I welcome the chief guest of today's function, who is a key speaker, Sri Ashok Gopinath, Managing Director, Technology Solution Architecture Accenture. Sir, I welcome you for this program.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. It's an honor.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. I also welcome Sridhar Balakrishna, Director and Chief Executive Officer, Hhv Pumps Private Limited, Bangalore. Sir, I welcome you, sir, for this August function.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, sir. Welcome, sir. In this occasion, I would like to thank our management, Sri G. Dayanand, the Chairman of Saptagiri College of Engineering, and Sri G.D. Manoj, Executive Director of Saptagiri College of Engineering, for providing us such a facilities to organize this program. I also welcome the Chairman, Mr. Amit Kumar, the Chairman of Value Engineering Society, who is the backbone in organizing the South Zone Indian Value Engineering Society. He has taken the society to the peak. There are 4 zones. In that South Zone stands first because of none else, Mr. Amit Kumar. Sir, I welcome you, sir, for this program. Amit, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Ramakrishna.
Welcome, sir. Welcome. I also welcome Mr. Anita Lucas, the Secretary of South Zone Valley Engineering, where she promotes the Valley Engineering culture in the South Zone. Madam, I welcome you, madam.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
I welcome Dr. Palani Natha Raja, HOD and Dean of Tyagaraja Engineering College, will also deliver the speech in this program.
Doctor, we can't hear you.
It looks we have lost Professor
Daniel, sir. I also welcome all the Value Engineering South Zone members, and I also welcome my HOD of Mechanical Engineering, Dr. Mahadeswamy, and my beloved faculties who have joined, and also my beloved students who have joined here, where we will going to take a lot of knowledge on the speakers who speaks, and the knowledge should dissipate much more, brightening our lives. So in this occasion, thank you very much for the Mechanical Engineering Department for organizing this program in a well-mannered way, in spite of this COVID situation. So thank you very much. Hope this program enlightens us a lot more knowledge in value engineering.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Dr. Deshpande.
Thank you, sir. Now, I request Mr. Amit Kumar, Chairman, Value Engineering Society, to speak about Indian Value Engineering Society and its functioning. Before that, it gives me immense pleasure in introducing Mr. Amit Kumar. He is a Vice President and Business Unit Head at Metering and Protection Systems, Schneider Electric India Private Limited. He has over 26 years of industrial
Hello.
experience. Hello, sir, I'm audible.
Dr.
Yes, sir.
Deshpande.
Yes, you're audible, sir.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, continue, sir.
We are unable to hear you.
Deshpande, sir.
Sir, okay, sir, I would like to introduce Mr. Amit Kumar. He's a Vice President and Business Unit Head, Metering and Protection System, Schneider Electric Private Limited, has over 26 years of industrial experience, and he is basically an electrical engineer with a post-graduation diploma in marketing management, traveled in more than 12 countries, delivered lectures, and presently is the chairman of Invest and immediate past president of CII Mysore chapter. Sir, I request you to deliver your talks.
Thank you, Dr. Deshpande. And I am sitting in middle of.
Yes.
There is some noise. Can people who are not speaking mute yourself? It will be good. Thanks for other people watching. So
Yes, Deshpande.
yes, thank you. Thanks to Saptagiri College of Engineering, the management of Saptagiri College of Engineering, for organizing Miles Day today on a Saturday morning. And we decided from Invest to have it on a Saturday morning so that students and professors can easily join and take maximum value out of this this virtual conference. I welcome today Mr. Ashok Gopinath, Managing Director, Accenture, who is our keynote speaker. Mr. Sridhar Balakrishnan, CEO of Hhv Pumps. Dr. Raju, Head and Dean of Thiagaraj College of Engineering, and our members, that is Invest South Zone Council. I think people are trying to disturb. Can you mute yourself? Sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please.
Sorry to spell out your name, but I don't like to do that. Yes. So just to give a brief of this, today is every year South Zone, especially among all the zones, celebrate this Miles Day, and we try to see that we have got and try to link with the students. That is our first. That is on this day. That is one of our. I think Dr. Ramakrishna, you have to mute yourself. Dr. Ramakrishna, you have to mute yourself. Yeah, thank you. So, just to give a brief of what the Value Engineering Society is doing, and people must be thinking about it. So, way back in maybe early 80s, it was thought that value engineering should be a subject which all kinds of organizations should speak of. And then, it was brought primarily by the Tata Group and Maruti, and we are affiliated to Society for American Value Engineers. And then, it started. This value engineering in this country is divided into 4 zones, and there is a national council. I head the South Zone, and also I am a member of the National Council team, and many of us who are sitting here are also members of the National Council, and almost all of them are council members. Every year we try to do and see that we bring in some value to the students, to the practicing professionals, and how they gain out of it. In this endeavor, National Council of Invest organizes every year a conference which is usually held in the month of November. 2 years back, we had it in South Zone, and we had a massive, very good participation from students and professionals. But usually when you talk of value engineering, the first thought which comes to practicing professionals is that value engineering is all about cost. But as you speak on the day, you will find that value engineering is not about cost. And there is also a certain feeling that it is more to do with engineers. I will say that it has nothing to do with engineers. It has to do with every practicing professionals. So now we also give certification from the ICB, what is there in the country, to the students, and they can become AVS. The country has almost now 16 to 18 CVS, which I think Anita and Arjun will speak, because there are 2 CVS here sitting among us. We are trying to see that India produces, and maybe in next 2-3 years, we have more than 100 CVS. You will all like to know that what I gain if I become a CVS. By becoming a CVS, this is one, which add value to your curriculum, your CV, and you are also recognized across the world as one of the top leading practicing value engineering professional. So I will urge this morning to all the members who are attending this, students, professors, teachers, practicing lecturers, practicing professionals, to first become an AVS and then become a CVS. Our country requires young CVS, and I think this is one of the best forums where, as the chairman, I can request the citizens of this country to become and see that how do one become a CVS. I can assure you only one thing: from Indian Value Engineering Society, and especially from the South Zone, we will try to support and see what best we can do in terms of ensuring that you get the CVS certification. We have sufficient fund. We are unable to spend the fund because we don't find avenues, don't find programs, don't find platforms where South Zones can spend the money which is lying in our bank to ensure that colleges, students, professionals, especially in these 5-6 states in South Zone, try to promote value engineering in their respective area, in their respective organization. Yes, please mute yourself. So let us take a pledge on this Miles Day. Yes, can you please mute yourself? On this Miles Day, let us take a pledge that we in South Zone, senior people who are here, who are decision makers, who can really help, that we will try to promote value engineering in our area and at least produce one CVS. With this, I also thank again all the people, all the speakers who have taken time on this Saturday morning for the general. I see almost more than 100 people attending this. Will surely by the end of this conference will know a lot and will have something to take home. Thank you, and wishing this afternoon my best wishes, and also for times to come. We will like to have your ideas. We will like to have what you are looking for, and we from Invest South Zone will try to promote it. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the brief introduction about the Indian Value Engineering Society and its activities. Now it's the time to hear from our chief guest, Mr. Ashok Gopinath. It gives me immense pleasure in introducing the chief guest and the speaker. Mr. Ashok is Managing Director and Master Technology Architect at Accenture, the highest Accenture qualifications in technology architecture. He has over 28 years of technology experience with a specialization in low latency, high volume densification, and also information security systems. His core domain and process focus is in wealth management, governance, risk, compliance. He has over 7 patents and holds an executive certificate in entrepreneurial finance from Indian Institute of Management and certified technology officer certificate from QUT Australia. He has area of expertise in industries related to oil and gas, trading and downstream, mining industries, logistic and operations, fuel related with retailing and logistics, power generation and distribution, banking and capital markets. Sir, we are very fortunate to have you today with us. With that brief introduction, I request you to take over, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deshpande. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Before I get started, I hope you're able to hear me. Everybody's able to hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And are you able to see my screen that I have shared as well, please? Are you able to see the screen that I've shared?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, your screen is visible.
Very good. Thank you so much. Again, thank you, Mr. Deshpande, for giving that brief introduction. And it's an absolute honor for me to be addressing this team today on a Saturday morning. Dr. Ramakrishna, thank you as always for giving me an opportunity to speak to practitioners across, and it gives me a tremendous experience for me to hear from all of them, and particularly from what I heard from Mr. Amit right now. And Mr. Sridhar is also here. I've heard him in the past, and I went back very enriched, and I'm sure today again I'll get to hear it and learn a lot. So with this value engineering, as Mr. Amit was saying before this, it is not just for engineers. It is for just about everybody in the society, in the economy today. And that is precisely what my next 10 minutes or 15 minutes of your time, I will be spending time to tell you more from an Accenture perspective. What is it that we are seeing? What is it that we are predicting is going to happen, and how students, particularly I see a lot of students on this call, how students need to probably take advantage of this situation and get them ready for this. So it's a short presentation, and I'll walk you through this presentation. And this is basically the Accenture Technology Vision that we publish every year in the month of January, February. I encourage all of you to please visit our website and download the full presentation there that's available, and it's a very insightful presentation as well. So having said that, this is what I'm going to be focusing on in terms of value engineering and its impact on technology careers, the upcoming technology careers, in terms of how you all from the student community need to prepare yourself for the days ahead. Now, before I get started, it is important for us to take a look in terms of what has actually happened in the world today. So let's take a step back and see in the last 12 to 24 months what has actually happened in the world, which is, I'm sure all of you will agree that there has been a lot of change in the world that has happened. So if you look at it, all of these are in summary, these 9 boxes that you're seeing are the definitions of change that has happened. We have seen Brexit happening. We have seen forest fires all over the place. We have seen China emerging in a very different perspective, right? As not just as a global economic power, but also as a global industrial house, and now for a very different reason as well. Now we have also seen our something that's very close to our hearts and all of us are going through, which is the COVID crisis. We are seeing a lot of economic unrest, economic inequalities happening all over the place. And you're seeing a lot of investments or a lot of move towards renewable energy, towards sustainability, pollution, climate change impact of all of that happening. So you've seen the Greta Thunbergs of the world, the smallest kid, Greta Thunberg, to the senior most people across governments working. And we are seeing economic crisis in a lot of countries as well. So these are, broadly speaking, summaries of change that is impacting practically everybody in this world. Now, underlying all of this change, whenever there is a change, there is always a reaction to the change. And it is important for us as human beings to understand what is the driver for the change and how is it impacting me and how am I reacting to that change. Now, underlying all of that is what you will see if I move forward to 2021, where we are today in April. From the beginning, when you look at Accenture Technology Vision, right from 2013 all the way up to 2020, we've been focusing on what we call as the word digital. And I'm sure you must have heard this word multiple times in different forums. People talking about digitalizing their business, digital life, digital disruption. The word digital is playing a lot in everybody's mind and everybody's business. And this is way back in 2013 when we started predicting how the word digital is going to impact each of our lives and change the way in which we operate, right? So in 2013, for example, we said every business is a digital business. So these are the themes on which we create the Accenture Technology Vision every year. So in 2013, we made a statement which said every business is a digital business, right? And now if you move further, in 2015, we said, when you say digital business era, stretch your boundaries. Don't restrict to what you are, how the world is going to stretch and try to do things differently. And we will see examples of this in the coming slides. Then moving further to, let's say, 2017, as to how technology is now not just helping companies do better, but the end customer of companies, which eventually happens to be people. How is technology impacting people's lives? So if you see, even in India, right from mobile payments, how the government tried to push for mobile payments, how the government tried to link Aadhaar to all the direct benefit activities. When you look at the Make in India themes, all of that you see right from 2014 onwards, there's been a massive shift within a country like India, wherein we have started to leverage technology in a very, very effective way. So if I move further, now in 2019, an interesting thing happened. We said, you know what, digital is dead, right? Digital is over. Now what happens in the post-digital era, and are you ready for what's next? And guess what? We were pretty much accurate. The word digital has now morphed into something much bigger, and we are now trying to figure out whether we as a society, we as a country, we as an economy, whether we are ready, and as an enterprise, are we ready for this whole clash of technology, process, people, objectives, all of them clashing together? How is it all of this going to sit together? That is what we are going to be looking at. Now, so if I move further, in 2021, what's our prediction? And every year we predict for the next 5 years, and we keep refining as things progress. So in 2021, that is this year, in January, we made, based on a lot of research that we have done, we spoke to almost close to about 2,500 to 3,000 CEOs of practically companies of every size across all industries, across all geographies, to come up with what their priorities are. And this time, not just the CEOs, we also worked very closely with the governments. We worked with a lot of NGOs to come up with what they believe is going to be key drivers of change. And everybody, almost everybody, made one consistent thing. They want leaders, right? Leaders is what they want, but leaders are of different types. But this time, they have been unequivocally very clear that they want leaders who are masters of change at a moment of truth. Now, this language might sound very complex, but if you distill it down, if you try to make it simple, there is so much of change happening, so rapidly happening. We need leaders who are basically able to, one, understand this change, be on top of this change, and this change and any solution related to this change has to be driven by data, by fact, by truth. It cannot be perception based. So if you look at world over, even the best example is when you look at elections, for example. You know, that's something all of us are very, very privy to, very close to it. The whole narrative of elections are changing because there is so much information available at a fingertip or on your mobile devices that it is very difficult for anybody to not to hide facts or to not tell the truth, because it gets exposed in no time, right? So what we need today are leaders who are masters of change, but at a moment of truth, because things are so fast. The moment you need to grasp that moment, understand that moment, understand the change, understand the implications, and come up with a solution and take responsibility for that solution, whether it goes right or wrong, and be able to adapt it. So this is what is our, if I say the prediction that we are seeing for the next 5 years. But one important line we missed, and that missing is moment of trust. There is so much of I'll say distrust in the society, in the economy today, in the country, across the world. Be it in the United States, if you see Black Lives Matter, it became a big move because the whole concept of trust in a framework of law, framework of legal regulations, that was lacking. And now if you see the whole battle between vaccines, you know, whether Covaxin is better or Covishield is better or Pfizer is better or Sputnik is better, there is so much of movement happening. So again, the leader has to take a decision on what needs to be done and move fast and take that appropriate solution and deliver it and make changes as required. Now, keeping that in mind, we believe that there are 5 key drivers of change which is going to impact everyone's career on this particular call. And that is what I will spend the next 5 to 10 minutes to talk about. Right. So before I move on, I want to reiterate, we believe that the society, the world, the economy, the corporations, the enterprises need leaders who are masters of change, that is, who have a good control over change and using data to analyze data to make their decisions, and are able to work in a trustworthy environment wherein they believe there is trust across different components, and they are able to solve things forward. So what are the 5 things? So the first 5 thing is what we call as track strategically. That is point number 1, architecting a better future. When you look at vaccines, earlier, as all of you must have are familiar and must have read in your textbooks, magazines and whatnot, earlier vaccines used to take a lot of time for it to be developed, tested. But if you've seen COVID as a very classic example, we have had multiple countries, multiple corporations come up with their own vaccine variants in a very short period of time. In about a year, they are able to develop vaccines and try it out. Many of those vaccines, all of those vaccines have different levels of efficacies, but they're able to come out with a vaccine. They're able to monitor the severe adverse events and control it and take actions accordingly. Now, how did this happen? This happened because of one powerful factor, which is what we call as computing, right? So when you look at huge amount of data coming in, computers being used effectively to be able to do the lock and key method, to be able to try various permutation combinations to see how this vaccine is going to be, whether this vaccine is going to be effective, not effective. So the value, again, now that this is a value engineering conference, so I need to start using the word value, right? So the value that these organizations have derived using techniques and technologies that were not available earlier and bringing it together for a time like COVID to come out with a vaccine is a very classic example of how, by making certain changes, you can derive phenomenal value, not just for the enterprise, but also for the society at large, right? So this now today with technology, we are able to deliver value in terms of monitoring where the vaccines are being injected, what is the efficacies of it, what are the adverse events, how can I change the medication, how can I control the supply chain. Everything is happening through computers today, and that is the value that the pharmaceutical companies have been able to deliver. So point number 1, that is stack strategically. Make sure that you play on your strength and you work with other components to deliver. Now, what is the second one? Second one is what we call as mirrored world. Earlier, every company used to believe I'm unique and this is my entire ecosystem, this is my factory, and I'm going to deliver things accordingly. But that world has changed. We alone cannot do everything, right? One company cannot do everything. So it is very, very important for us to what we call as develop digital twins, wherein you have a digital copy of your enterprise on a computer and use computers to simulate change. So very classic example, I don't know if any one of you most of you must have read the newspapers recently. There was a news article of Accenture and Bharat Petroleum having automated their entire command and control system. Today, every petrol pump, about 18,000 petrol pumps of Bharat Petroleum, their terminals, their LPG bottling plants, the whole thing is now controlled by one single command center that Accenture has built for Bharat Petroleum. Now, the beauty of this is, on this system, I'm able to make supply chain changes to see how the fuel will go to a particular location, to see whether the fuel demand supply gap can be met without actually making that change. Similarly, in the refinery, we are able to make changes electronically to see what is the impact of a particular process flow. If I make this change, what is the value that I can deliver to my customer by making that change without actually physically making that change. So using data, using computing, using high-powered computing, we are able to simulate a particular business process, simulate the value being generated out of that business process, and then if it makes sense, then we physically go ahead and implement. Because making physical changes is always very expensive and always time-consuming and has its own sense of risk associated with it, right? So keeping these three things in mind, digital twins becomes a very, very important factor. The third thing is what we call as I-technologist. That is the democratization of technology, which means that earlier, if you go by the earlier ecosystem, you had the CEO, you had the CFO who was responsible for finance, you had the CIO who was responsible for information, you had the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, who was responsible for marketing, you had the CTO, which was who was a Chief Technology Officer who was responsible for technology. But that lines have gotten blurred now because all of them are technologically very, very equipped. Almost all of them understand technology. They know how technology can help them, how it can benefit them. So which is why the democratization of technology, wherein each of these leaders, each of these business units come with their own needs and understanding of technology and how technology can help them better their business process. So democratization of technology has started to happen and will continue to increase, wherein these lines of CTO, CEO, CXO will start getting blurred because each one of them are going to be very, very technologically savvy, right? Now, point number 4, anywhere and everywhere. All of you must have heard the word cloud. Everybody, I'm sure, is familiar with cloud. That is what we are trying to say, that you should be able to do anything you want, anywhere you want, with the with a proper connectivity. So the whole point of internet-enabled, your IoT sensors, data going onto the cloud, analytics being done on the cloud, you should be in a position to, one, simulate anything anywhere, take a decision and act on it anything and anywhere, right? So that is the whole power. So cloud-enabled businesses, your IoT sensors, connecting your equipments to the cloud and doing analysis on that is going to be a big area for all of you students to focus on. The last one is from me to we. That's the next, the last business change that we would like to predict is a multi-party systems path through chaos. So it's a fact that today, when you look at India as a classic example, earlier, we tried to build vaccines on our own. We had dependencies. We wanted to have very little dependencies. So you'll see a dynamic shift happening wherein on certain areas, the whole Make in India is a classic example wherein we want to reduce our dependency on external supply chains, build our own capability, competency to build it out, build out that whole capability within the organization. ISRO is a classic example of how whenever there has been pressures whenever there has been actions taken by foreign governments to deny certain things, we have ended up building. But on the other side, you've also seen wherein we have not tried to do everything on our own and try to take components from everywhere and try to build it out. Both of them have their own pros and cons. The most recent example is the Covishield vaccine itself. This vaccine, we were dependent on the United States. We are dependent on the United States for certain raw materials. But as all of you must have seen the newspapers yesterday, the United States decided to stop it. Now, there is a balance that we need to try to figure out from what is that balance before which it will always be a me, wherein I will do things on my own, and what are those components wherein we will work together as a we will take components, experience, expertise from various organizations and put together, right? So these are the 5 big drivers of change. Now, all of this sounds very nice, but what does it mean from your career perspective? And this is my last slide. So what does it mean from a career perspective? Because that is something that I'm sure a lot of these students must be thinking. The first thing is, I will focus your attention on these 4 dimensions, right? So from a technology perspective, you will see full stack development being, increasingly being used. Cloud and mobility is going to be very much in use. If I have to focus your attention, these last two, security and data science, is going to be something that I would strongly encourage my young colleagues here, young friends here to focus their attention on, build their experience, because as and when data starts democratizing, going onto the cloud, security becomes extremely important. You must have recently heard the news about, a lot of data leaks happening from a lot of banks and a lot of institutions. So security is going to be very crucial. And if I'm able to go back to those 5 points, and we talked about I should be able to do anything anywhere, right? So which means that a cloud enabled ecosystem, security becomes very important. And last one is the data science. Needless to say, everything that I spoke about, the last 5 points that I spoke about, is fully on data, right? I consume the data from various sources, from your IoT sensors, from your SCADA systems, PLC systems, put it all together, churn it out, and come out with a meaningful information. So data science is going to be very, very, very useful, very powerful, and practically every decision going forward will be data-driven, information-led decision-making process. So from a technology perspective, I would urge, I would encourage my young friends to focus on these 4 points. On the process side, you will see, because of the changes that we talked about, you will see a lot of investments being done by companies towards their supply chain ecosystem, towards their manufacturing ecosystem. A lot of money being spent on client relationship management, CRM, right? Because it is important that after all, when I do all of this, I'm doing it for somebody, which is a customer. So how do I retain that customer? And the number of customers are fixed. It is not exponentially growing. So how do I retain that customer? Because acquiring a customer is very, very expensive, and losing a customer takes one flaw and you lose a customer. And last one is sustainability. As I showed you in the very first slide, with climate change coming in, with fuel prices becoming very expensive, sustainability becomes a very big focus area. And we are seeing this with a lot of investments being done in the Middle East, which was a very heavy oil-driven economy, moving towards a very sustainable ecosystem, because they've realized that oil is not going to be sustainable for their economies in the coming decade or so. So when you look at the industry perspective, infrastructure is obviously going to be a huge spend. India alone is spending, multiple lakh crore rupees, billions and billions of dollars on infrastructure in the coming years. And that is very important for a country like India, which has such a young population, to be able to generate that kind of employment. It is very important to focus on infrastructure. Because of COVID and associated ailments, you will see a lot of focus on life sciences, because our body structure is changing, being impacted by a lot of things, be it the kind of food we take, the kind of stressful environments we're living in. We are going to be seeing a big spike in ailments of various kinds, and that's why you'll see investments in life sciences increasing. Needless to say, financial services is going to continue to grow. Energy is another interesting area wherein you will see a lot of investments happening. Energy from your regular coal-based energy or your fossil fuel-based energy shifting towards a more renewable energy source. With, you must have seen a lot of investments being done at the airports wherein they're doing all, Bangalore airport, Cochin airport is 100% LEED certified. They're doing their entire power is made by solar power systems, etc. And food production. I don't have to explain this. We are a country of 1.5 billion people. There's almost 7.5 billion people in the world. But the land that is being used for cultivation is continuously shrinking, which means that new methods of farming, new methods of food production, new methods of food processing are areas where there will be investments. Now, when it comes to geography, this is the last point. Traditionally, if you've seen, every country prioritizes where its investments are going to happen. But if you see India as a country, and I'm saying this not because I'm an Indian, but more because of the fact that I'm working closely with all these ministries and I'm seeing the kind of investments that are going to be done in this country. So I must very clearly and very proudly tell all of my young colleagues here is, if there is one country where you will see a phenomenal opportunity being given to you to bring up your expertise, to leverage your expertise, it is this country, right? And needless to say, Middle East, Eastern Europe, and East Asia are also other countries where manufacturing is going to significantly go up. Not to say other countries are not attractive or other countries are not, but they have a different set of priorities and different set of challenges. And all of these are primarily going to be driven by this one single word: value. Everything that you are going to, your career depends on how much of value you can deliver to your organization, to your society. And that depends on understanding of your core technology fundamentals, your process fundamentals, and the industry that you're operating in, right? With that, I want to just give you one proverb, which is a very interesting proverb that I found is this: when the winds of change blow, some people build walls, other people build windmills. And that is something that I would end my presentation with. And I would encourage you all to build windmills rather than walls, because that is what you require, that is what the country requires. With this, I will stop speaking, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you have. And thank you once again for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful motivational words on deriving value from technology and its impact on career. If any queries are there, please unmute and you can ask.
Ashok sir, this is Dr. Mahadev Swami, Hhv Mechanical. I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Our mechanical students who are completed, they are telling we don't have job. I say, as you highlighted, if any student master of change, I think they will get a job. Is it true, sir?
You're absolutely right. I mean, and that is easier said than done, to be honest. Yes, what you said is absolutely correct, sir.
Please advise our students.
Absolutely, sir. So my sincere request is, if you expect the students to magically change in the 4th year of their engineering, that is not going to happen. Right. They need to start working from their 1st year towards changing themselves and start looking at a value-driven business. What is the value that I can deliver to my prospective employer, right? That is one thing I would strongly suggest. Please don't expect companies to come and hire you in the 4th year and you're not prepared for it. So mastering of change, however you're able to understand change and master yourself or adapt yourself to that change, is very important. The second and most important thing that I would like to request all my young colleagues here, young friends here, is while you're looking out for a job, which is, yes, important and it is required, why can't you be the creator of jobs? India is one of the fastest growing startup ecosystems anywhere in the world apart from the United States. Right next to the United States, it's probably India's the fastest growing startup ecosystem. What is preventing you from starting your own enterprise, trying it out, learning, and then come into the mainstream if required? Today, if you look at most of India's startups, they've all been done by fourth-year engineering students who have decided to take the a path which is less trodden. So my request is, while you definitely look at shaping yourself from the first year onwards, also look at trying to be the element of change wherein you start up an ecosystem rather than you look out for a job. That's my submission to all my friends here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Any other queries? Sir, I hope that there are no more queries. And I once again thank Shri Ashok Gopinath sir for those wonderful motivational words and guidance on the career for our youngsters. Thank you so much, sir. Now
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now it is the time to listen from our another chief guest, Shri Sridhar Balkrishna. It gives me immense pleasure in introducing Sir Sridhar Balkrishna. He is the director of Hhv Pumps. Basically, sir has a BE in production engineering from Jadavpur University and MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Kolkata. He has over 29 years of experience in sales and marketing, application engineering and strategy, and worked in leading major pump industries like matter and plant, wear minerals, etc. And he is heading Hhv Pumps from the inception. And we are also fortunate to have our MOU with Hhv Pumps. Sir, with that brief introduction, I request you to speak on the value engineering in design and solutions in pharmaceuticals. Over to you, sir, please.
Thank you, sir, and good morning, everyone. It was quite interesting to listen to Mr. Gopinathan's powerful presentation, and of course, Mr. Kumar, the way he was talking on the importance of value engineering. So before starting my presentation, I just wanted to share a small trivia. I don't know how many of you are aware that Mr. Miles started his career in the vacuum tube engineering department in GE and had 12 patents for vacuum tubes and related circuits. I just wanted to share this trivia because vacuum is what I'm going to talk on. This is a company where we make vacuum pumps. Yes, sir. Next slide, please.
I'd like to comment that that's a vacuum from our side. We were not aware.
Absolutely. Thank you. Trust me, every day I'll keep on learning. So I can tell you. Yeah, next slide, sir. Yeah, Nick.
Basaraj.
Yeah, can you go to the next slide, sir? Sorry, I had not used Google Meet earlier, so I thought Mr. Basavaraju let him present. Yeah, next slide.
Yes.
No, you have slipped.
Yes.
Second slide, sir.
Basaraj, previous slide, please.
Previous, sir. After that.
Basaraj, next slide.
No, you have. What I'll do is, sir, I'll only take on the presenting. I think the slides are moving fast. I needed the second slide. Yeah, next slide, sir. No, the previous one. Yeah, thank you very much. I just wanted to start with a brief introduction to our company. And I can only say that this company was started in 2008. And the progress what we have achieved could not have happened without the support of the investors and our team. The time has really flown over the last 12 years, and it feels good sharing it with all of you briefly. This company was started in 2008 between Dr. Rajgopal, who was earlier CEO of Edwards UK, and the Hhv group. As you can see, we have launched 20 new products, which are all, the development has been taken with the Indian market in mind. And the dry pump, which we launched in March 2016, changed us completely. We took 6 months testing the first prototype and adjusting the clearance, but it was absolutely worth it. The selling in a cluster of at Andhra and Telangana also ensured product was supported and improved. We also did a new facility move once our products got accepted in the Indian market, and we had to ramp up production. So this whole new facility move was done with the existing team to ensure costs are minimized. The entire move was completed within 9 months of signing the lease agreement and starting the building work. Our focus is now on new product development and strengthening the application and service setup to meet market expectations. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, Mr. Basavaraj. Thanks. Our vision statement reflects the joint aspirations of the management team, which was reinforced during the leadership program held at Art of Living about a couple of months back. The detailed action plans have been worked out to make it happen. I had always believed it, but our team was skeptical even 3 to 4 years back. But growth in a pandemic year and the new facility and infrastructure has now made it the vision of the whole leadership team. Innovation and continual learning of products and processes are happening every day. The values defined are something which I had personally believed in, and I'm happy that the organization and the investors ensured they are non-negotiable. Next slide, please. Yeah, now I'll talk briefly on the product, markets, and applications. This slide shows the major application sectors for vacuum in India and how our product development strategy has been India specific. For your information, 50% of the global vacuum market is in semiconductors, and Samsung, Intel are the biggest customers globally. However, semiconductor manufacturing is not there in India. For the Indian market, Pharma is the biggest market, followed by electrical. In electrical, we were only in transformer oil filtration, but now our dry pump has been proven in transformer drying with one of the major manufacturers. We feel this segment will grow with government investment in infrastructure. My brief presentation today is to how we have tailored the product development to the pharmaceutical market. Next slide, sir. As you can see, when deciding on what I should talk in 15 minutes, I could reflect on the enormous progress we have made as an organization in the various disciplines. Design and development. The products are being continually improved based on customer feedback and application requirements. Seamless material flow, including implementation of Hhv, which is basically a leveled production techniques for assembly. process engineering, including use of odd combination techniques and fixtures for reducing cycle time, development of critical sub-vendors like pre-machining, fabrication, etc. within a 2-kilometer radius. What I want you to understand is this has been a really big challenge. Big companies like automotives, they do it seamlessly because of their volumes. But for us to make our sub-vendors believe in us and shift with us is absolutely a massive value addition to the entire supply chain. And of course, application engineering. So while I was doing this presentation, I realized I needed to think as a customer and asked, what function am I buying? I'm not buying a product, I'm buying a function. Like this digital world has really made us understand that what is it we are doing. So because of so much of knowledge which is available. So this has made me talk briefly on how we developed our dry pumping solution for the pharmaceutical sector, understanding every day what is the customer expectation. Next slide. The major application in pharma industries, if you look at it, the first 4 applications are fall in the category of general applications in formulation industries. The other remaining applications are falling into active pharmaceutical ingredient industries, which is distillation and drying. As you can see, the products, slide before. As you can see, the product is used from very rough application, which is 100 to 500 millibar, which includes pick and place, to very high vacuum, which is 0.01 millibar. So 0.01 millibar means there's hardly any air in that space when it is. So for this entire gamut of range, how do we tailor make our product to see that the customers can use a same product across various applications? Yes, sir. Next slide. So I'll just give a brief overview of our dry pump. Our competition while taking up the dry pump development was against Korean screw pumps which were imported. This is the reason why we developed a 4-stage pump of 300 meter cube per hour. Now we have variants of the 300 meter cube per hour with both 3-stage and 4-stage pump with indirect cooling, which have been developed based on better understanding of market requirements. We have also developed the horizontal version, which has been developed mainly for the metallurgy market, like vacuum furnaces. Initially, the product what we developed was direct cooled, but we developed the indirect cooling arrangement when we understood the following. Water quality is bad in most of the areas where the pharmaceutical companies are located, leading to deposition of mud in the cooling circuit. The customer wanted to operate over a range of temperatures for handling multiple solvents, including methanol, which has a boiling point of 70 degrees centigrade, and other commonly used solvents like toluene, which has a boiling point of 110 degrees centigrade. So you can understand there's a huge variation where the same product needed to be used. So the application and service support has been critical in promoting our products. All Korean companies were providing the equipment, but were not capable of working with customers to provide solutions and service support. Customers had a lot of disruption with pumps rubbing and seizing, and suppliers were not able to repair their coated screws and had to replace entire screws at high cost. We also incurred higher service and warranty costs at the start, but this was mainly due to incomplete application data, as well as customers using pumps incorrectly and for other applications than intended. However, by working very closely with customers, we rapidly gained their know-how, and customers also gained confidence on us and followed our operating guidelines. For some customers, we have developed substantial cost of ownership reduction by switching to reliable dry pumps at an acceptable cost. Next slide, sir. Yeah, now coming to what makes our equipment different. As I told, we have an indirect cooling mechanism through thermosiphon principle. Earlier, we were having the water coming in directly into the cooling jackets, but now that was clogging those pipelines. But now, because of this indirect mechanism, the liquid coolant is filled around the status connected to a heat exchanger. So the cooling water flows in and out of the heat exchanger. This cycle helps in cooling the coolant based on the natural convection principle. And we have a thermostatic control valve to control the temperature. Next slide, sir. Yeah, what we also understood was the product is moving from the top to the bottom. So what happens was suddenly the customers, we find that huge amount of vapor load is coming into the pump and it is getting clogged. So we had a pressure relief valve fitted to ensure in between the pump outlet and the third stage of the pump. The valve is normally held closed by its own weight, but opens depending on the pump inlet pressure. So at pump inlet pressures of 300 millibar and above, interstage pressure forces the valve to open. This allows process gases to pass directly from the third stage to the pump outlets and it ensures that there is no deposition in the pump. So at pump inlet pressures below those specified, the interstage pressure is low and the valve is held closed. The process gases pass through all the stages of the pump. That is, the process gases are compressed in the fourth stage before they pass into the pump outlet. Next slide, sir. So what we basically did, we basically understood that the pump by itself is only a mechanical piece of equipment. How do we make it intelligent and tailor make it to all of the customers' requirements? This is what we had done. We created a fully automated system with PLC and HMI, programmable logic, and a human machine interface. This compact and standalone equipment is ideally suited for any pharma company requirement. We provided an inlet purge because the pump is running hot. You have to understand, inside the temperatures are as high as 200 degrees centigrade, and there is the lubrication only comes from the indirect cooling heat exchanger. So we had to provide inlet purge and solvent flush for cleaning and programming as per the solvent being used, as per the product they are doing. We also ensured that there is an inlet dust filter so that in case of any impurities coming from their process, it is filtered out at the inlet and doesn't go inside the pump. Because inside the pump, the motors are running at 3000 RPM and the clearance between the rotors and the stators is hardly 80 microns. So you can understand anything which goes in, and if it is not taken out, it will just damage the pump. Then also we ensured that we had an inlet isolation valve put to ensure that the whole process, which I'll define shortly, is maintained. Then what we also included is an RTD to ensure that the system trips 20 degrees centigrade above the operating temperature so that the pump safety parameters are retained. We also included a thermostatic control valve here so that the pump can operate at a variety of temperatures from 50 degrees centigrade to 80 degrees centigrade ambient. We also understood that there are voltage fluctuations wherever the equipment are located. So we ensured that there is a surge protection in the panels and the system what we had given. Next slide, sir. Next slide. Yeah. Once we started the first, a 4-stage pump which we developed, with better understanding, we developed 2 variants. One is a 4-stage higher flow pump for higher throughput and vacuum, and a 3-stage system for lower throughput and vacuum levels. This shows all the controls and how we have modified it as we gain more and more knowledge from the customers. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. See, whatever we had showed you was all the hardware. So we developed a process and instrumentation diagram. And we developed it once we started understanding and working with the customers better. Next slide. Yeah, we put in an operating sequence to ensure that the pump is properly operated. See, what we realized is, what is it we need to make to ensure that nothing gets deposited in the pump? We needed to ensure that the pump was heated up. So we had an inlet valve and a warm-up cycle. So depending on the process and the temperature requirements, we could set up this warm-up cycle. Then we had a process cycle. This depends on the company, customer's process. Some processes may be as low as 4 hours, some may be as high as 40 hours. Like Mr. Kumar in Schneider Electric, he would be having equipment where, of course, it's different industry, but the process cycle is as high as 48 to 72 hours. Then during this process cycle, what we also did is we ensured that there is the seals are running absolutely hot. So they are given a seal purge so that they are lubricated and the temperatures don't exceed the limit specified. In addition, we also introduce solvent flush so that periodically it ensures that there is no deposition in the pump and it is taken out. So all these things were done during the process cycle. And then what we also understood was, once the process is stopped, we just cannot close down the pump because there will be traces which will be remaining within the pump. So what we ensured was there was a warm down cycle. So that also we ensured that minimum half an hour this process was done and anything which is there was taken out. So we understood it handles as acidic materials like hydrochloric acid, thionyl chloride to normal organic solvents. But the same product can do it because the philosophy on which we learn to operate the equipment is whatever goes inside the pump needs to be taken out. It is harmful to the pump only if it is inside. That's how this whole operational philosophy has been done. Next slide. Yeah, now I've talked on, it's a brief introduction. This is such a big topic, what we have done, and it's been quite interesting. Now, how do we give this value proposition to the customers? Our value proposition depicts what we are and ensure it is properly communicated to customers through our sales teams. The customers now understand we offer Make in India with a strong R&D base. The addition of 256 new customers across our target segments in the last 3 years reflect this acceptance. So what I can say is, we started from a digital world. Now we have come to the engineering world where every day we realize that what is permanent is change. And all these parameters, whatever we have shown you, that we have application support, we have engineering research and development, we have a young and dynamic workforce. Most of the people who joined today, we have more than 150 employees. So most of the people who joined were fresh out of college. and they have stayed on. Why have they stayed on? There is something good which is there, which is challenging for them to realize. And of course, the organization's growth has also ensured there is enough value addition which the company does to its employees also. So the only thing which I can say for the young engineers who are coming in is, whatever you choose as a career, you need to enjoy it, because you have to realize you're going to spend maximum time there. And if you don't enjoy your workplace, what you are wanting to do, it will be very, very difficult, and opportunities are tremendous. Today, what Mr. Gopinathan was telling, there's tremendous opportunities for Indian startups to do. We can dare to be different. With these words, I'll like to end my presentation. Any questions?
Thank you, sir. If anyone has a query, please you can unmute and ask the question.
Sir, this is a very quick question. This is Raghavendra from the Invest.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned in your first slide that moving all your supply chain partners into the ecosystem, which is barely 2 kilometers away from your main manufacturing facility. That's something that's done in automotive in to a great deal of success. As compared to automotive, I guess industrial pumps would be not so much high volume. So how did you manage to convince your supply chain people to come into that ecosystem?
So one of the things what I have realized is, any of my vendors or subcontractors, they are not very big people. They have grown with us. So if I had to, like one of our employees had left, he started off on his own. I could convince him that, okay, you have enough load for the machinery and investment what you are doing, and this is my commitment to you. So since they have grown with us, they could get that confidence that yes, we will support them. So choosing the right vendors, what is my requirement? I cannot go to the big time vendors like companies like Bosch and others work with. But what I realize is, we have to impart the skills and put in their systems and ensure that it is continuously monitored. So what we basically looked at is the right entrepreneur who can work with us and for whom this earning is important for his sustenance. Because if my business is only 2% of his turnover, he will not be interested, because this is a really high technology product, and the manufacturing is, I'll tell you, the concentricity requirements are as close as 10 micron geometrical accuracies. So that's how we have done it. We realize fabrication is critical, because if there is even a leak, small leak, I can't send it across 25 kilometers. So now we have put in the vendor next door so that this is done seamlessly. And the other thing is, the product development is happening every day, because we are also learning. We are a young organization. Our competition is against global majors who have more than 50 to 60 years of experience.
Sure, sir. Yeah, very good point. I think no reason I asked that question is from the answer, it is very clear that value chain, which is also a very key ingredient of success for industry, that is also what I think you were kind of concentrating when you're bringing in vendors closer to you, and also it's a win-win situation for both you as well as the vendor.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that answer.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you, Sridhar Balkrishna sir, for a very informative talk on value engineering design and solutions in industries. I would like to once again thank you for joining this session and exploring us with this value engineering in design and solutions in pharmaceuticals. Thank you once again, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Now, it is time to move on to our another eminent speaker, Dr. Palini Raja, Head and Dean, Tyagarajar College of Engineering. He will be speaking on educational outcome and significance of value engineering. Before he starts the session, I would like to introduce the eminent speaker for today. Dr. M. Palini Raja is a professor and head of mechatronics engineering and holds the post of Dean Planning and Development since the year 2016 at Tyagarajar College of Engineering, Madurai, India. And he is also coordinating a TechUp program of National Project Implementation Unit under World Bank project, Government of India. Basically, Dr. Raja completed his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering with a distinction, securing rank from Madurai Kamraj University. He has the gold medal won at bachelor's level, pursued master degree in mechanical engineering from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, BITS Pilani. He has earned doctoral degree on the domain of service quality in engineering education and healthcare from Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi during the year 2002-2007. He has won many awards, which include President of India Scout Awards in the year 85. He has awarded with the Career Award for Young Teachers from AICTE and also has won the Eminent Engineer Award by the Institution of Engineers, Madurai in the year 2013. Sir, with the brief introduction, I request to take over the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the kind introduction. Learned faculty members, eminent speakers, experts of value engineering, and my dear students. My topic is around the present day context of educational outcomes and its relevance or significance of value engineering. So this is the course which we have initiated some 10-11 years ago inside our curriculum, and Mr. Daniel Arokyam of our TCS we initiated as a 1-credit course in our campus, and it yielded a very good result at that point of time. Later we have framed as an undergraduate course as an elective at the undergraduate level and a postgraduate level, and consistently either at the undergraduate level or at the post-graduation level we have introduced this course, and the students are getting a lot of benefits out of it. It's just since the year 2013, our Government of India, especially the Board of Accreditation, has become a accreditation agency for assuring the quality of our program, and they have put up the outcome-based education. So I want to relate that outcomes with the reference to our value engineering, especially the course which we have framed, and how we are translating the outcomes at the course level. Just a minute, sir. I'll try to share my presentation. Hope my screen is visible now.
Yes, sir. It is visible, sir.
Thank you, sir. So this is a topic. Our college is established in 57. It is supported. It is a government-aided institution. It is a peculiar institution. It is in Tamil Nadu. We got an autonomy in the year 87 by the UGC, and continuously we have got an accreditation from the National Board of Accreditation since the year 98 to this year, and we are awaiting for 2 more program results. It is affiliated to Anna University, approved by AICTE. We are offering 9 undergraduate programs and 10 postgraduate programs, and doctoral programs in engineering, science, and architecture. We stood the national level 64th ranking at the National Institutional Ranking Format in the last year, which includes all IITs and NITs. We have a student strength of 4,000, faculty of around 247 faculty members are there, and more than 60% of our faculty members possessing doctoral degrees, which is one of the unique stature we got in our institution. So education, if you happen to see, these are the primary objectives whereby the education is being imbibed. The first thing is that the dissemination of knowledge and the application of knowledge, or the creation of knowledge. See, these are the prime duties in any educational institution. Normally it happens with this objective. And later, this was the scenario which happened for a very long time in our education system. So in abroad and in developed nations, in the year 2000, they entered in the form of outcomes. It is not output-based education system. They formed or coined a word called outcome, and there are many definitions which has come out during that period, in 99 or 94 and 2000. But one Mr. Spady in the year 94, he coined that outcome-based education and accreditation system. So these are some of the definitions which clearly talks about the learner or the student have to demonstrate actually what he can do, what they know and what they have learned. And similarly, their Mr. Geyser have explained about the performance that embody and reflect a learner's competence. Competent, many the time people have a different connotation. I'll try to give some more picture on that. What is the competency at that student level? In using their content or knowledge or the information, the ideas, or techniques, the different tools successfully. It is a culmination of a demonstration of a learning, not a curriculum content. Curriculum is all about the intent thereby which we are spending time with the students, like lecture, theory, or practical. Now the entire curriculum framework is getting changed in order to tune with the outcome. So when it comes to the competency, the engineer should have three predominant competencies. One is the technical competency, managerial competency, and behavioral competency. Most of the institutions are trying to inculcate the technical competencies, whereas this managerial and behavioral is left out. But ultimately, the companies or the industries or the corporates is looking for majority of the time the student from the student is all about managerial and behavioral competencies. The competency is nothing but multiplication of your knowledge, your skills, and the commitment. What type of commitment you have to demonstrate your ability. That is the terminology they are talking about, the competency at that engineering level. It is certainly a multidisciplinary one. We need to collaborate a lot. Why I am emphasizing in these three competencies at this junction? The course in value engineering or the process of value engineering, it naturally enhances the managerial and behavioral competencies among the students when they are pursuing the course. This is a unique process we have inside our particular value engineering methodology, or sometimes we call it as a VE job plan. I'll give you some more detail in the coming slides. So outcome per se, it is clearly talks about the learning results. That is what we want the students to demonstrate at the end of a significant learning experience. Every student is undergoing some learning experience, whatever the courses he is undergoing. It is not only about values, beliefs, attitudes, or psychological states of mind, but outcome will be much talk about what learners can actually do. At the end of the day, what he can be able to do with respect or reference to the particular subject he undergoes, and what they know and what they have learned. They are the tangible application of what has been learned. That is what the Spading explained in that outcome-based education with the critical issues and concepts. So the program outcomes have been classified into, it is fundamentally the attributes of a graduate engineer. There are 12 program outcomes they are mandated as per the National Board of Accreditation, and which is a mandate thing that every institute need to follow now in any engineering institution. So these are some of the 12 program outcomes. I have grouped into 4 different levels. One is the knowledge oriented or problem solving group, or classified into 3 or 4 things to have a better understanding. The skill oriented, some disturbances there, sir. I think someone can.
Pramod, please mute.
Pramod.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
right.
Yeah, that skill orientation is an important thing that student has to acquire during the study, that what type of tools he is using, and how that teamwork is performing, and how it is being shared among the students to carry on the task, and who is lead that particular activity, and what type of communication is happening. It is either oral or written or any technical report writing, and how they are treating this as a project, which is a very important element an engineer should know, because once they enter into the company or an industry, naturally they are going to operate in a project mode till the end of their career, or in their throughout their profession. Probably they are going to manage at a project level. So this type of an exposure or learning experience they will get through the subject of value engineering. And the attitude, naturally, they should have a concern on our society. Now recently the sustainability development goals people are talking about throughout the globe, and we can have or choose some of the 17 parameters which they have laid out and related to the value engineering. There is a huge possibility of showcase our program outcomes through that particular course. And ethics, of course, what type of ethical level we have. These are all attitude oriented. So when they are involved in this type of a value engineering project, naturally, how much ethically they are choosing now Otherwise, in many institutions, it is a duplication of a project from the earlier batches, or many things are happening. So this won't allow, or it may not happen with our value engineering methodology or the process, that thereby we can ensure that all the projects are being carrying out in a much ethical way. And lifelong learning, that value engineering is not the end. There is always a possibility of knowing the different case studies from the different industries, as the earlier speaker talked about his own case study. So the program outcomes will be of a little explanation or the definition. I'm not going to read out line by line, but you should know what is the major expectation out of the particular program they are pursuing. It is not only for mechanical or civil engineering. It is all the engineering student whoever comes out of that particular program at the end of the 4th year, they should have that particular outcome at the end of the day. So they should possess the naturally the engineering knowledge with the certain fundamentals inclusive of your mathematics, science, and mechatronics. I have written to my own discipline. Otherwise, the problem analysis, yes, every engineer should look as a problem. You need to identify a formulate to solve the engineering problem. Even in our value engineering commencement of our project, we need to identify and formulate in order to solve some engineering problem. So this will give or pave the way to know the things in a much better way, since it is a precise or a concise methodology which they are following in a much standardized way, or in a much systematic way. A student should provide some amount of a design or a development of solutions. It is now any system or a product is of a much integration way it is coming. There is no any isolation way of a discipline which is working on with the products, with the present day products. Everyone is witnessing that the multidisciplinary has been involved in the particular system. And as an engineer, he need to investigate the complexity of the problem. Yes, there is a scope and more potential to go in depth with the present problem which is in hand with the students, whoever is undertaking the particular value engineering problem. The first 5 is of a much technicality, the technical outcomes they are expecting. And these are some of the skills they are expecting, as I said earlier, that what are the modern tools they are exposing themselves with the available softwares which are available to the relevant discipline. I am quoted here more of mechatronics because I am coming from the particular department now. The engineering and society, it is an it needs a deeper understanding of our social, cultural, and responsibilities of our environment, how the ambience thereby we are operating our project, either in terms of a system or a process or a product. As a professional engineer, how we are perceiving that particular problem. So that is more important in the present day context. And we need to understand the sustainability concept. Even the earlier speaker, earlier the speaker was highlighting about the sustainability and how we are going to sustain the product in the longer term. Ethics, which is highly lacked in our system, we are witnessing with every part of our system, even after completion of our studies. So this is one of the important aspect they are looking as an outcome, and how the students are moving as a team, which is also another important component as a recruiter or a professional. Wherever they are entering, they need to operate on a team, and communication is another major expectation from an engineer. See, all these outcomes certainly will have a more role. I try to correlate some of our techniques, how it is being benefited from the value engineering and project management and finance. Otherwise, as an engineer, there is no any room for knowing the things about the finance. Our LCC or our costing procedures will have a definite advantage to know about the accounting, costing, and the finance on that particular project. Whatever the project we are handling in value engineering. And lifelong learning, that is another major expectation of this outcome, by practicing and educating others. Once students involved in the type of a particular value engineering project, they have always a tendency to look societal problem or any other problems they are encountering in their profession. They themselves will know how to learn the things to carry out that particular project. So this is the typical course level outcome which we have framed for value engineering. Board of Accreditation emphasized that every course should have at least 4 to 6 outcomes. So these are the outcomes which I have framed personally. Establish the value engineering methodology, which means the end of course the students are able to establish the value engineering methodology of a VE job plan of 7 phases, and you can recognize the various phases which are available in the value engineering. You can do a performance, you can perform the function cost work analysis. This is a specific outcome I am giving to my student, that he can be able to do this analysis process, which in turn talks about a larger outcome at the end of the program. And they are more creative. They can be able to create the ideas by solving the problems, the different techniques and tools we are exposing in this particular course. And we emphasize how to evaluate the functional importance and the functional cost. This is another major outcome which we are perceiving from this course. And finally, the student can be able to recommend the facts and present the cost. So the idea here is to introduce this type of an outcome specifically. He will get a confidence that I can do some sort of costing, or I can be able to generate newer ideas towards that particular problem solving. So this indirectly specifies the different program outcomes which we have talked about earlier. As all we know that 7 phases, there are about 22 techniques are there. So each and every phase, if we go in detail, it talks about more the humanness, that human relation, the teamwork, the specificity, or how to overcome that particular barrier or the blockage. Normally the resistance will be there to change with the newer ideas. So how we have to overcome that one, or how we are going to convince within our team. And we need to judge with a good business tint, without any impartiality or whatever the facts which are available with us. So all these 5 phases, every phase which is using the particular technique, naturally you'll having a development of that particular outcome. So in the information phase, he knows how to collect the data, or relevant data, especially what is the costing accounts to that. When he able to do with the benchmarking of different products, what is happening outside with the respect to the product. Naturally, you can come out with the different costing procedures, how they are calculating the direct costing, indirect, or the labor cost, or the administrative, or the retailing cost, how they're making a profit and costing. All those ideas will be getting when they are determining the cost. So otherwise, as an engineering student, they are doing more than 48 or 52 courses with a much rigor in technicality. They will have, they will be able to derive the complicated expressions, the equations, the modeling, simulation. They can do with the latest CAD tools, everything. But when it comes to the practicality of identifying the smallest or determining the cost of a smaller product, many the times they are unable to do that. But exposing this type of an technique or information phase to that job plan under this value engineering, they are able to cope up to find out this type of a costing, and they know how to estimate the specifications. See, it gives a greater learning experience to fix up the specification of that particular product. And the function phase, it is also, they have to narrow down the lot of things with the more technicality. So the technical competence, or whatever the knowledge, the experience they acquired over the years. Normally this courses is being offered in the final year. So the earlier 3 years of knowledge through which they can be able to come out with the different functionalities of the product with a better understanding. And in the creativity, yes, which is the important element with every student, the whole nation is expecting now. So this is a primary phase for any student who is undergoing this particular course. The whole nation is expecting even the creativity with the innovative solutions for the different problems which they are coming up across the society. So these 2 different techniques will come up with a lot of ideas among the students to generate more ideas. As we all know that human being is having 2 distinct capabilities. One is the creative and judicial. The students are able to clearly distinct when we need to have a judgment and when we need to be creative. The creativity dies due to the lack of usage. Probably we are exposing this particular thing to the students at the age of 17. They have a more creative knowledge, after which due to the number of constraints, they have their own fear on their decision. They are coming out and it dies out slowly. This is the one which proposed Dr. Paul Torrance a long back. Scientifically has proved that creativity dies over the period of time. But how we are going to sustain? Once the students will be able to appreciate this particular stream of creativity, then they'll be able to know how to sustain the creative ability to come out with the newer solutions at the later part of their age. So the evaluation phase, naturally, they have different ideas to combine it, and again they have to re-estimate with the newer ideas, with the different functional electric alternatives, and at every point of time, this technique allows them to make a decision. Otherwise, most of the time, we never allow the student to make decisions. So this particular value engineering course allowed them, knowingly or unknowingly, the student at a different point of time, in a group or individual, they were able to take up a conscious decision on the particular process what they are doing. And in the investigation phase, naturally, they are exposing to the different standards at the company level, regional level, industry level, national, international, and they know who are the vendors and who are the specialists, what type of expertise which are available relevant to the product which they are developing or which they are improving, and when to go for specialty products, the make or buy decisions. As I said, in most of the phases of value engineering, as a student, they have to make some amount of decisions. So it enhances or facilitates these phases among the students to go for it. And finally, they know how the value engineering job plan concludes with how to present that findings, whatever they have done, whether it is in the right direction or wrong direction, whether improvement is there or not. But certainly, they have undergone a definite learning experience with the value engineering project that they have chosen, which is having some relevance or impact on the either society or any sustainability problem. Normally, we used to give out some theme-based project to carry on the value engineering. That itself, it have a pool of ideas and pool of knowledge normally they will have, and finally they will be able to come out with the number of prototypes and more integrated ways. Being a mechatronics student, they will come up with the beautiful ideas and the product. I'll give some showcases some of the products which they have finally got through the value engineering. Why we have to crawl like a crab when we always can fly like a butterfly? This is what I wanted to convey with reference to the educational outcome and the value engineering. I'll try to show some of my students who develop the product in this value engineering. Just a minute. This sort of biped robot they have done. The only thing which you are given is the toy as a theme you are given to the students in the class. And finally, they were able to, walkable robo, they were able to manufacture at a low cost. Probably it costs something around 250 rupees or so. So if they make it professionally with the help of our 3D printing or thing, probably some of the other companies even they look for this type of a value engineering solution. So this is another product that they have come out. Again, all these products are the toys. Which commercially available to the cost of more than 1500 or 2000 with a more ornamental and aesthetic way, but conceptually or functionally, how we have to make it in a low cost with the value engineering methodology. That is the success of this course, I feel, with realizing certain amount of a product in hand. Students themselves, they cherish and they also felt proud that we can also undergo some amount of a project with this type of technologies. Even still lower, low-cost toys and all, they were able to. It costs nothing, but the creative idea of normal natural law of physics or inclination in plane, they were able to develop this many projects over there. This is what I want to convey and share my thoughts on the educational outcome and the value engineering. If you have any specific queries with people, I'm ready to answer it. Sir. Thank you. Thank you for the patient listening.
Thank you, Dr. Palnatha sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
If any queries are there, you can, participant can unmute and ask the question.
Palnatha Raja sir and Dr. Swami, I have one question.
Yes, sir. Please.
Sir, program outcomes are originated from the attributes.
Yes, sir.
And it is, as per NBA, it is common.
Yes.
My question is, can we customize to our individual program, as you mentioned, like mechatronic system and mechatronics complex problem?
No. We cannot make it now. Earlier it was allowed since the year 2015. They were 16, I think. They were allowing the program outcomes we can manipulate or modify according to our requirement. Now only we are responsible to modify only the course outcome, not the program outcomes. Now all the 12 program outcomes are clearly spelled out by the Board of Accreditation. We cannot change it now.
I asked this question is, in your slide, it was mechatronics mentioned.
Yeah,
mechatronics.
this was earlier we are framed in the year 2016.
Right, sir. Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you for clarification.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, Dr. Purnataraja, sir, for the wonderful presentation, very informative. And you showed some products, exciting products. Definitely our students are benefited by that. Now, I would like to request Dr. Daniel Arutyam. He'll be taking you through a session on educational thinking from daily life. Before that, I would like to introduce the eminent speaker. Mr. Daniel TCS is the lead NPD Value Engineering at Tata Consultancy Service. He is also executive member for Indian Value Engineering Society. So today he will be enlightening us with the session on functional thinking from daily life. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon all. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yes, thanks a lot, sir. And I would like to thank Invest and all the speakers for a wonderful speech on value engineering. So it is a great pleasure to get connected on the occasion of L.D. Miles Day. So nothing what else is needed for practicing value engineering like us, who are fond of function, and they always we like to see the things in the eyes of function and realize them. So I want to just quickly touch upon, how function-based thinking can be realized in our daily life, how it can be applied. So, sir, can you just share my slides?
It is visible, sir. It is visible.
So, for one of the great thing about L.D. Miles is L.D. Miles created this wonderful technique, value engineering, during the adversity, Second World War. So, as always, we tell that there is a lot of opportunity even in the adversity. So, he created this when the entire country is diverting all its resources towards war. How to continue their manufacturing of GE goods. He created the alternate way of doing the same thing without compromising anything, on functionality, performance. But at the lowest possible cost and whatever the resources available with us. So the great thing what I cherish is how he has defined value engineering. As you see in the slide, he defined a very simple thing, with just 2 words. Value engineering is determining the possible. So if I just connect this with our earlier speakers, Mr. Ashok Gopinath talk about all the 5 pillars and everything, talk about. So even in the changing world, we are talking about, there is a lot of changes in economy, sustainability. There are changes in our, the political ruling in certain regions and, ecological challenges. But we keep determining with all these changes and challenges, what is it possible to continue our activities. So you can see that, even in the IT world now, the crux is, and the keywords people talk about is, design thinking, lean, agile, all, aspects. But you look at all those things, what is the end purpose they are trying to achieve? Nothing but determine the possible with all the constraints. So that is what I cherish whenever I look back at Lawrence D. Miles. So with that quick introduction, so sir, can you just move to the next slide? So just we will see certain things, whatever we see in our life and how to connect that. So if you see in the current slide, food, we all take food. So the key thing is, I don't know how many of us realize the food has to connect all our senses. And it has to connect all our 5 senses and then the thinking capacity. If it is not meeting all those things, the food will not convince you. It will not fulfill your heart. For example, if you are taking a chicky or chickly, it can be a good texture, color, everything. But when your teeth are biting it, if you are not feeling the crunchiness, you will lose its interest. We are all fond of rasa, if you look at that, each one sense with which we will look at that, the color, the texture, the thickness, then, the taste perspective, whether it is spicy or not spicy, less spicy, more spicy, okay. But at the end of the day, if it is not meeting all your senses of the color, the way, when you are eating that one, the sound it creates, how it meets your taste buds, all the senses it has to meet. So to have a successful food, that has to be there. But the real thing is, even after meeting those things, what is the basic function it has to fulfill, especially, the pandemic period, what we are currently undergoing, that made it clear that foods, the basic function is it has to supply nutrition. No, it has to supply nutrition is the key thing. Then comes all these, satisfying all the 5 functions. But if you are giving a food which supplies all the nutrients, but if it is not meeting the satisfied senses, it is extremely hard to satisfy the person who is taking the food. That is what the struggle all the mothers and fathers, undergo when the child starts, eating. So, and it continues throughout our life. It is not just during the infant stage, even now as an adult. When we talk about when we go and eat somewhere, that is what we think. But if you see, the basic function is totally, now the pandemic has made us to realize and, appreciate the basic function of supply nutrition. That is the key thing. So that is where you see, I don't know how many of you realized that great change happened in your food habits. Most of us started, taking fruits and especially, citrus-based things to get, vitamin C and nutritional things. Earlier, we were not taking. So that is one of the key things, in our daily life. So whenever you see food, please remember the function. It is supply nutrition. And food to be successful, it has to satisfy all the 5 senses as well as your thinking capacity. If it is not meeting that, then it will not be a successful food. Sir, can you just move to the next slide? So the next slide, if you see, we are all talking about education. Dr. Balanagaraja sir has given a great detail about, how early engineering is helping in the education perspective, especially the outcome-based, education, what now the entire world is talking about. In that, how it is, giving a great support as well as helping the education department to realize that always we see, what is the function of education. We see that function of education as a thing is to get a job or, to find something. But the real function of education is remove ignorance. So that is the one key thing we should remember when we are getting educated. So what we are doing is we are removing our ignorance, which is helping to create trust in a particular area. So in this entire our human life, what is the one thing which drives our life is the trust. If you see, if a health worker is going and, fighting against the pandemic and treating all the patients who are affected, what is the one thing, the trust he has in his profession and, which is making him to, trust and go and work in that. So the same way, what we people are now joining today and we are learning because we trust. So we trust each other. So if I attend today, I will learn something and that will help me to apply somewhere and improve my value. So that is what the one thing, the education is all about remove ignorance to build trust. And please remember trust. In English, it is, I jovially tell to the people, if you first remove the word, the letter T, it is rust. So the trust to rust can happen in milliseconds. It takes ages, and throughout your life, you have to work hard to continue to build the trust and continue the trust whatever you created with the rest of the world. Even a small thing, if you do, immediately the tree will disappear, it will become a rust. As mechanically, most of us in this call are mechanical engineers, we can see, once rust started in a metal, no way you can, totally remove the rust from that. Please always keep us in mind. So whenever we are talking about education, it is all about removing the ignorance to build trust. Trust is the journey. It is not an end goal. It is a journey throughout our life. Sir, can you just move to the next slide? So one of the other important thing is when we build a lot of transportation assets, the underpasses, bridges, and all other things, always we think that what is the function of these assets? We think, it is to aid transportation, or, it has to boost the speed of movement in that particular truck or the road. It is not the thing. The basic function of any transportation asset is eliminate the obstacle. So when a transportation happens as a function, it encounters the obstacles. There is a lot of other movements happening there. There will be change in the path. There will be physical changes. There may be natural changes. You can remember, even in the Suez Canal, a huge natural wind which has turned, the ship ever given has been turned, and the entire supply chain is stuck for more than 2-3 weeks. And you can imagine, so always you have to think about eliminate obstacles. So how bravely that entire set of Suez Canal workers braved 2 weeks, worked, and finally they, taken out the ship, and they continue the supply chain. So please remember that whenever you are working on a transportation project, your key objective is to eliminate obstacle. If you just change your thinking towards eliminate obstacle, immediately your mind will think about all the obstacles, right from human being to natural obstacle. Then you will create right ideas and the right features into a product. If you just think that transportation assets are to increase the speed or increase convenience, all the obstacles will not come into your mind. You think about others ways and means which will not give 100% results or 100% customer satisfaction. So next thing, so the discussion. So we do a lot of discussion both in our home as well as office, our personal life, especially adults, students like you do a lot of discussion. So what is the function of discussion? It is not, just join something and, change some words. The key thing is, it is all about share knowledge. Discussion is not just participating or giving an attendance or, ensuring that your presence. It is all about sharing the knowledge which will trigger thinking process in others' minds. So please remember, whenever you are doing some talk with the other person, it is share of knowledge. It can be your personal level, or it can be at the family level, society level, your technical level, your project discussions, your political things, whatever you are doing. Please remember, the function of any discussion is share knowledge. It is not just, participate in a meeting or, ensure presence. It is share knowledge. So, sir, please move to the next slide. So what you are seeing here is we all, wear the waist belt, especially when most of us from the rural background, you enter into college. At that time, one of the key thing happens is a change in your dress code. And some of us, start wearing the belts when we enter into colleges. That is the reality. So what is the function of the waist belt? So the waist belt is, the basic function is, you put, insert your shirt, and, it has to maintain, the stiffness of your upper cloth, as well as it has to bind the clothes in place for a longer period of time. So the basic function of a waist belt is bind object is the basic function, and then comes all other other changes. You go, after certain time you take some eatable, or you take the lunch or dinner. So you have an expansion happening in the body. So the bind object function should be flexible to accommodate variation. So that is where you have the buckle with the holes. So now if you think about coming with alternate ways and means of doing that one, you can think of different ways. A simple knot to Velcro type of belt to different latches. there are so many variants you see. So always remember that, the basic function of a waist belt is bind object. Can you just imagine people wearing a belt? It is wonderful, great looking, but it is not binding the shirt. Immediately people will start, laughing. Especially we might have seen the significance of waist belt in 1980 films. Which is bell bottom pants with broad belts, especially all regional language, even Hindi movies. One of the prominent the accessories of male is this the broad belt. You can imagine your own favorite heroes with this. This is one of the key things. So whenever you look at waist belt, the basic function is bind object. So move to the next thing. So you can see here, this is one of the key things we will see always in our Indian, especially in our Indian roads. Wherever you see a lesser weight, large area, objects have been transported from one point to other point. So this we will see. So what is the function, that particular driver or that logistics provider is trying to achieve? He is trying to maximize the purpose. In a single movement, he tried to, convey the maximum amount of material. So that is what the purpose he is trying to do that. So always remember that, we can debate that one in different angle. Is it right? It is all other things. But please remember why he is doing. What is the function, the thinking he is having in mind when he is loading his vehicle like this and moving. The thing is, we want to maximize the purpose. So in a single, trip, what is the maximum number of this low weight, large volume articles can be moved. But if you look at in the other way around, corporates, we use a different strategy and try to do that. One of the classical things, always recorded in management books is how our home overhead water tank manufacturer, when he is shifting the water tanks from Gujarat to rest of our country, so it occupies larger space. It is going best. Why can't I reduce my cost of transportation? So he joined with a CPG company. What they have done is they have taken their toothpaste and other CPG things, put inside the tanker, and the logistic provider moves that way. So they increase the purpose and reduce the cost. The effectiveness increases. This type of things. This is the zero level of maximize purpose idea, but people continue to work on. That is what Dr. Balanagaraja talks about. The lifelong learning. So if you see things in the eyes of function, you keep on improving it, it gets into newer ways and means of realizing those functions. Sir, can you just move to the next slide? So this is one of the classical things I keep on talking in my value engineering cycles. So it is, especially during this work from home, almost from child to the homemaker to all the people in the home, at least once or twice might have experienced it, cutting the onion. So there are so many ideas moving around in YouTube, WhatsApp forwards everywhere, giving ideas like put it in fridge and then take and cut. It will not be, you will not get tearing eyes, or somebody tells dip in water and other things. But all those things are not reliable functions. When you are cutting the onion, please see what is actually happening. So you are cutting it and there is a vapor inside the onion which is coming out, that is going to irritate your eyes. So basically what is happening, there is a spread of vapor is happening. So what is the function is needed to eliminate the tearing eyes when you are cutting the onion? Obviously you have to exclude the vapor. So how you can exclude the vapor? And especially if you see, the thing of cutting an onion, for a marriage or a large party, where 20 or 50 or even 100 kgs of onion has to be cut. Can you just imagine? You cannot imagine a cooking vendor to have a nice protection and wearing it perfectly and all doing this. So please remember that all these people may not be able to realize, and define the function to be done in a very good verbal noun based way, but always they realize the right solution, because they think the problem in terms of functions and they arrive at the solution in function means. They may not be able to document and express like engineers like us. You can see here, he just sees that, there is a vapor coming out. So how I can, exclude that one from reaching to my eyes. So simple thing is, why can't it is mandatory, I am wearing my helmet and it has a see-through transparent cover inside, just I will wear it. There is no cost involved. But he can continue to work with that, for long hours, he can do that. You see, this is what, realizing the function without much of a cost. That is the one of the key aspect. So always remember, whenever onion cutting, it is exclude vapor. So how you can exclude it? So next, so this is one of the, especially students and bachelor's life, you can see this type of creative things happens, So take something and try to do be, creative. So boiling milk, but you don't have a cooker or proper induction stove. So what you can do? So the thing is how to boil. So I have to apply heat there. So what is that? I have definitely in the bachelor's thing, you will have an iron. Basically what it does, it applies heat to remove all the wrinkles. So the function is generate heat. It is happening there. I will utilize that function to meet my requirement of boil the milk. So you do that. But the thing, please, just for the functional linking, I am sharing it. Don't try to do this, because it will end up, if you are not properly taking care, it will end up in a fire. Just to give an, functional thinking, how people are trying to do and link the right low cost, ideas, and functional thinking is helping. In that perspective only I am sharing. Please don't try this at home. Sir, can you just move to the next slide? So this is especially, during our hostels and, especially during our college days, whenever first we, when we, access the laptop, we try to, use it to, view a lot of, lesser, especially Indian context, we try to, view a lot of movies. So the thing is, I want to, lesserly sit and lesserly way I have to watch. So how you do? So you may not be able to get a right attachment and do that. So whatever is available, try to do that. And if you just look at how it is happening, the key thing is he want to position the laptop in a particular way that it is very convenient for him and to just view it. So the key thing, what is the function it is happening here is the position object. So you can see, even a very good anthropologist or ergonomic analyst, if you just look at that in that perspective, so he will see that the weaving angle, all those things, how it has been properly addressed in this thing. So the function, what is happening here is the position object. So the next, so the one of the key thing of human beings gathering together. What is that? We used to do that one, in terms of our family gatherings, our societal gatherings, our professional gatherings like this. So what is that? What is the key function of, togetherness? It is share the experience and share feelings, especially, So as you can recall, when I started my talk, so I was able to express my feeling, how I am able to recollect my functional connect with L.D. Miles and how I cherish, value engineering and his definition of this. That is what the key thing, That happens because I listened, I was influenced by the previous, all the speakers in different perspective, in different views of applying value engineering. All those things I am able to connect with my knowledge and my learning and whatever I studied about Lawrence Miles. And the Indian society, Indian Value Engineering Society, and the global value engineering community has given me that opportunity to learn about that. It is not just me alone, it is the complete ecosystem who has given that experience and feeling. I am thankful to that, and that I just expressed. The same thing with other speakers as well as audience. You are now even now listening and hooking to this because you see the value of togetherness, and you share the feeling of the function and the value engineering. So please remember, the function of togetherness is share feeling. It is not just just sitting or standing next to the other person, just looking somewhere else. It is share feelings. So with that, I just you sir, just move to the next slide. As if you recollect all the speakers talk, the core values of value engineering. This is a very great cartoon given by one of the value engineering students, taught by Professor V.S. Gree from Bangalore Institute of Technology, BIT. Miss Mirtula. We conducted Miles Day at their college, and we announced a VE cartoon thing. So we were astonished to see this because unless otherwise, whatever the functions what we articulated, the different outcomes what Dr. Balinatha Raja has taken from the definition, link that one, you can see all those things very nicely. That particular student has portrayed here. So always you should have a human interest. That is what the societal thinkings are talking about. You have to have creativity. To do that one, you should have an open mind, and always you should be analytical in your mind to decide what to do and what not to do, or it has happened. So whether what is the next step I have to do. And the most important thing is know how to do the business. So the financial aspect of it, which is addressed by this. So this is a wonderful cartoon we got. These are the things which cherish whatever the effort we are putting in interacting with academia like you. So end of the day, you express your gratitude by the creations like this. The great lectures what we heard, or you share different artifacts, different projects that boost our confidence and keep working towards propagating value engineering to more and more people. Continue our effort in applying more and new technologies into that. So if you see the right hand side, so always there are a lot of other techniques. It talks about reducing something to quickly achieve the objectives, but value engineering is not that. So that is what just I want to highlight. Value engineering is all about having a human heart, open mind, creative, analytical, and doing that in a right perspective. It is not just cutting the thing. So always remember this two-legged horse. Even we may think 4 legs of a horse is too high for it. Minimum just 2 legs is sufficient, like us, but it is not the reality. So with that, I end my speech. I am okay for question and answer, and I would like to thank Saptagiri College and Invest and all the speakers for the opportunity, as well as the great learning and sharing towards value engineering function and the thought leadership hindered by Lawrence Dallas Miles. Long live Miles. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Daniel Arikem, sir, for a very interesting session on functional thinking from daily life. If there are no queries, I request our department HOD, mechanical department HOD, Dr. P. Madhavsamy, sir, to present the vote of the thanks.
Thank you, sir. In the event Miles Day 2021, in association with Indian Value Engineering Society by Saptagiri College of Engineering, it's our primary duty to thank everyone who contributed for the success of today's event. First, I would like to thank our management for all kind of support, and our principal, Dr. H. Ramkrishna, also a Joint Secretary of Value Engineering, is the mastermind of today's event. Thank you, sir. Also, I thank today's chief guest, Ashok Gopinath from Accenture and Sridhar Balkrishna from Hhv Pump, for delivering talk and inspiring all of us and also our students. Also, I thank the speakers, Amit Kumar, Chairman, Value Engineering, and Pallinatharaj sir and Daniel for inspiring and motivational talks. Also, I thank our convener, Dr. R.G. Deshpande. He is the one key person for executing today's event, and also Dr. Basuraj for associating with him. Last but not the least, I thank everyone who involved in this program, even our students, all our final year and pre-final year students, and various faculty members from our department and other institution and various industries. So finally, thank you one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you.
Sir, conclude my buddy.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
And have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thank you,
joining.
everyone. Bye.
Thank you all the participants. Feedback will be shared soon. Please fill the feedback and send it back. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you, madam.
such a nice session, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam.
Yeah, thank you.